Welcome to the Drink Less, Feel Fresh, Fresh AF Mondays weekly podcast recording. This is a live recording. However, you may be listening to this on Spotify or YouTube. Either way, welcome. Tom Cartwright here, founder of Drink Less, Feel Fresh, accompanied by the lead facilitator and all things behavior and psychology change, Nat Hodges. Nat, how you doing?
Bloody well, mate. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, mate. I'm good. I am not going to lie. I'm waiting for you to notice that I don't have these plugged in.
Oh, no. Oh, okay. Progress in the DLF tech space. Here we go.
Progress in the DLF tech space. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Some 2022 technology coming to you for this podcast.
Oh, God.
Mate, how's the audio?
Really clear. The clearest it's ever been.
Yeah, of course it is. He says with a smug face, should have listened to me 3 months ago.
Well.
It feels good not to have a cord connected me to the laptop.
Right.
Like I can.
It's a freedom thing. It's so mobile.
Like I'm not going to get up and go for a jog or anything, but it works.
But if you wanted to, you could. That's the option.
Listeners, if this is the first time listening, this is an introduction and a very warm welcome for how we do things here at Drink Less, Feel Fresh. We have very serious, profound, and very important topics. Conversations, I should say, about topics that matter most to us, but we have them in a very lighthearted and playful way. Because if you can't take your alcohol reduction journey with a bit of light and playfulness, either A, it's not going to work for you, or B, it might work, but it'll be an absolute fucking struggle.
It's true. After the language, sorry, Mariola, it's this is how he rolls.
Is that pretty well summed up, Nat? Like it'll either work for you, but we're already too hard on ourselves when it comes to drinking too much anyway. And it's really unfortunate. Do you see this, Nat? Do you see people that completely change their lives through this, which is great, but it's through this rigid discipline and they're so serious, like they're taking it so serious because there's this fear that if they don't, it'll all fall apart.
Yes, and we've spoken about seriousness a fair bit on here and other parts of our media, but yeah, seriousness is kind of embedded in fear. It comes with a really, I would almost say, it's not a toxic motivation, but that motivation does toxify the system a little bit. So it's not a toxic motivation, but that does cause some toxicity because it's fear driven, it's adrenaline driven, it's pressure driven. So we like to say all the time, Tommy, is that we want to kind of exchange out seriousness for sincerity, because you can be incredibly sincere about your journey, but still keep it light. And that's what we've seen is the best combination.
Oh, that is such a good distinction, because there is, I would assume, and I probably did myself, make assumptions that if I was taking it easy on myself, then I wasn't taking it seriously, even though I was really, as you said, sincere. It's probably a really cool distinction there.
Yeah. It's more of the how much is the heart and soul invested in this versus how much am I emotionally charged about it. That's kind of the difference between being serious versus sincere. Yeah.
And that'll probably actually, I didn't know you were going to say that, but that's probably an incredible segue to today's topic, which is the link between addiction, satisfaction, and fulfillment. And what are those links, and what's the purpose of even having the conversation? So if you're someone who's on an alcohol reduction journey, maybe you've wanted to live a sober life, maybe you've consumed copious amounts of alcohol and you just want to learn to reduce your intake, or maybe it's the first time you've even thought about changing your relationship with alcohol, and this topic might be right up your alley. We're going to talk about the link between addiction, specifically alcohol in the context of this conversation, fulfillment and satisfaction. And you walk away with this from potentially having some really key lessons and learnings on what might really serve you moving forward. And what we mean by that is, rather than telling you what it is you need to do, which is not really what we do, we're going to have a conversation that might start firing some neurons for you, or start providing some connection to the journey that you want to take forward. Does that sound about right now?
Bang on.
Mate, I'm going to hand it straight over to you. When you and I talk about, even this morning, when you're talking about satisfaction and fulfillment, and it's under the context of how to change your relationship with alcohol, what fires up for you? What part of knowing psychology, human behavior, what interests you so much about this topic?
Yeah, we'll go two ways. The reason why it come up is there's actually, we'll start with this. There's, if you're under-fulfilled or under-satisfied, that is a strong proclivity to drink in that day or that week. So if you're under, your cup's not very full. If your cup's overflowing, it's also a stimulus to drink as well. So So you can be too full. You can be too satisfied. Isn't that crazy? If, I want fulfillment. It's like, well, it's not about wanting fulfillment. It's about knowing how much you need. And I'll give you I'll give you the change. So I've had a long-term client, and her cup was overfilling. Right, she was doing so much. She had she got two kids. She's got part-time work. She's got a full-time work. She's got part-time work to being a dance instructor. She loves being social and connecting. She loves her spiritual part of her life. Her life is full. And what that means, if you're packing your life with stuff, fullness, it means that when there's downtime, the natural reaction is to want it to fill it with things. So it should be like eating sweet food, should be calling someone, because there's that constant satiation. She was too full. And what that happens is it sets your life up for always being desirous and full and textural and satisfied. And it's just, and it's not just dopamine driven, it's deeper than that. So when the cup's overfilling, it gets too much. You feel too weighed down. There's too much restriction. There's too much need. There's too much emotion going on. When you're under fulfilled and undersatisfied, is also, everything feels a bit dry, a bit empty, and then you want to change your state. There's a feeling of deficiency, so you want to reach for whatever you're drinking, and that gives you a partial sense of relief or whatever it is. So when we talk about satisfaction and fulfillment, I just want to make sure that there's two ends of the spectrum. There's two ends of the scale. There's underfulfilled, empty cup, overfulfilled, overflowing cup.
When you talk about, I'm not going to assume people are going to get confused, or even I'm going to assume. We're going to assume that the conversation is going to go where it needs to go. But when you're talking that, what you remind me of, and I'm curious if this is what you're talking about or I've missed the mark here. You remind me of a time where I was starting my alcohol reduction journey and I became aware that I just wasn't happy, underfulfilled, not happy in life. But then 2 to 3 years later, I found that there was a new road to take, which was trying to figure out how to feel fulfilled in an unfulfilling moment.
There you go.
Is that what you just? It's like that's everything exactly was so happy, but then it's like I became really uncomfortable in emptiness, like in non-fulfilling space.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people can get, what do they call it? that famous book, The Happiness Trap? Like the search for meaning and happiness gets you out of the dark place, and then you've changed addiction sometimes.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So we'll start on the second one, which is when you're underfulfilled or undersatisfied. Here's the addicted brain. The addicted or attached brain does this. Okay, I need to go about my day. Yep, it's the morning. Okay, coffee, tea, do my morning routine. Good. All right, let's get into this day. And then the addicted brain goes, well, I can't wait for this afternoon because I'm gonna have a drink. Or do I not have a drink? Do I have a drink? It's already a pretty hectic day. I'll probably have a drink tonight. Cool. So it's lunchtime. Yep, I'll do these tasks about 4 hours before I can get home. Okay, cool. Yeah, do this task, have that call. All right, we're getting there. We're 2 hours now. And now when we're getting close to that drinking time, our brains change. We are not engaged or focused. We're just kind of getting through it. And so, when you live like that, and when your internal world is like that, you can't ever be satisfied in the day. So you're doing tasks but not putting, you're not really invested in them. You're going through your day half focused on something else. And so you can't ever find that satisfaction or fulfillment in the day because you're not building competence. You're not doing things right or slowly or with patience. You're not thinking forward. And, so when the addicted brain gets split in half because it's got one focus on the addiction or the attachment, you can't get the satisfaction in the day.
And how many, we point this out, take everything with a grain of salt. How many people are experiencing a sense of, I'm living for a moment that doesn't exist? It's 3 o'clock and I'm thinking and living for the moment of having my beverage. When I get home, oh God, cracking that Sauv Blanc is going to be nice. It's been chilled all day. Like living for the moment that doesn't exist yet.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And that is a feeling. The cup's not full. Some of the hardest coaching you and I have to do is getting people back into their day where they're fulfilling each moment with enthusiasm, intensity, competence, satisfaction. They're in it. And when you do things in the day, let's call it correctly, or with effort, intensity, competence, reliability, commitment, steadfastness, will, whatever, when you're really in it, that is the satisfaction, and the drive to drink goes down. So it is wanting more for your life, as we keep saying, Tommy.
It's nice to hear, because it's really supportive of. I used to say this. You might not have even. Maybe you have. Let me know if you heard me say this, because it sounds really counterintuitive, and I've had a couple of more clinical side individuals say, "Nah, it's not really how it works." But I said this years ago. If you don't love yourself in addiction, you're not going to love yourself out of addiction.
Nice.
And I like what you said there, because it's kind of like, well, if you don't find fulfillment in the moment now,
yeah,
and you can only find fulfillment after you don't have alcohol in your life, you're still running the pattern of, I'm living for the moment that doesn't exist yet. I'm going to be worthy when I don't have an issue with alcohol.
Bingo. Yeah, you've got it. Exactly right.
If someone's listening right now, they're watching this on YouTube on the other side of the world, or listening to the podcast as they drive their car, and they're aware of that, and they're becoming aware, and they go, shit, yeah, I do that a lot. And now that Nat and Tom are talking about it, I realize I probably even know I'm doing this. And that frustrates the hell out of me. What's the, where does someone go from here? What are the steps to potentially finding more fulfillment, or is that even the approach? Like, where to from here?
Yeah. If there is a feeling of deficiency in the day, which gets fulfilled with the beverage in the afternoon, right? If that's the kind of general thing, then I suppose steps wise, if we're going to get tactical, it would be finding areas in your day and having a really honest conversation with yourself about, in the day, where in myself, where do I know I'm not giving 100%? Where am I failing out, not having hard conversation, not doing things to their completion, or doing things to a really satisfactory level? Where am I cutting corners in my day to take it easy on myself, to get out of something? To where am I taking it easy? Where am I being lazy? And they're difficult, niggly, annoying things, but they are the exact areas that when you park your own shit and do things to their right level, do things in the appropriate order, do things that set yourself up for the future, then automatically there's a sense of integrity that comes. And it's not really always looking for fulfillment. It's looking for integrity first. Because if you don't have an integrous way of being, then the fulfillment doesn't last anyway. So think about integrity as like a holding place. If you don't have integrity, then when you pour it with fullness, imagine pouring it in with fullness, it doesn't hold the fulfillment. It just falls out all the leaky buckets. It just falls out all the leaky holes.
Even as you're saying it, it just sounds like you're back now talking about addiction. It's just, look at me, yes, like chasing the high, alcohol, cocaine, coffee, using coffee as a stimulant if you need a stimulant. Like, it's just the constant, give me something that's not, it isn't even satisfying, is it? It's like a short,
exactly.
You kind of want to use the word satisfying, but it's not, it's so empty. And if anyone's listening and you've become aware this is going on with alcohol, then it's time for you to let go of alcohol, because one of the indications for someone who knows alcohol is no longer serving them is when they have the awareness of, it kind of feels like this isn't working for me.
This isn't working.
Drinking the alcohol isn't even helping you avoid the lack of integrity or not finding passion and purpose and meaning in the day. It's not even giving you that illusion of switching off. You're not even, when you no longer find calm and safety in alcohol, it's a green flag for you. It's saying, it's done. Your time. It's done. It's one of the most common themes we hear at Drink Less Feel Fresh. Where are you at with the alcohol? And someone's either like, it just helps me switch off, and I just feel so calm and relaxed at the end of the day. That's one kind of person. Then we get the next kind of person, don't we, Nat? Who's like, I don't know what to do. And we say, why? They go, I had a few drinks last night, and I think I got more pissed off. It didn't even work. I had a couple of drinks in a social situation and my anxiety went up.
I love it when people say things like, it didn't work, or I didn't get what I wanted. It's like, that means you've changed, not the alcohol. Like,
either let it go, or time to pick a new drug. I'm not allowed to say that.
Time to pick, 2023, it's liberal. So yeah, with that integrity thing, we see it in our clients probably, and especially in our masterminds. This is where we see it the most in our masterminds. We do imagine this at a personal, intricate level that has structure and a curriculum, and so we're diving into everything in that. We see people in that mastermind get so solid in themselves and have so much integrity that when they pour the alcohol experience into that integrity, they go, "Oh, this just doesn't it doesn't even feel good anymore." Like it's the stability and the integrity in myself has now become so much more to me than the surface satisfaction of scotch on the rocks or whatever it is.
Yeah, really well said. Because when someone's it's almost like the alcohol is diluting their experience, as opposed to in the past it would feel like it's enhancing or just suppressing and switching it off.
Bingo. Yeah, that's exactly
an interesting one, isn't it? Whilst I'm consuming alcohol, my experience of life is getting less. What a great reference point. Maybe not that many people that are listening to this podcast, maybe many people that have experienced this. Either way, and this is probably good. And I don't think we've ever said this on the podcast, but if you're listening to something right now and you're recognizing that you're at a certain level and that you want to get to a different level, or maybe you're someone who's been sober for a few years and you've had these experiences, please always feel free. Shoot us off an email, info@drinklessfeelfresh.com. If it's a thought, if it's a reflection, or what we really love, if it's a question, please send us an email, info@drinklessfeelfresh.com. And if it's relevant on a global level, we'll make sure that we put your question into the next podcast.
Beautiful. That's great. So where are we at, Tommy? Oh, that was empty becoming full. Now let's talk about overfilling cups. Like when people are this is when you've probably reached for too much fullness. You want to be satiated in many ways. They're satiated in, say, personal connection, satiated with food, satiated with pleasure, satiated with the next thing, onto the next thing. I've got a free afternoon. What am I going to fill it with? I've got a free morning. Do I go to walk on the beach and listen to a podcast? Like trying to fill your life because it's a sense of fulfillment. You can overflow it. And then what happens is the freedom starts to go. So a sense of freedom in yourself, a sense of freedom of an openness, like a space. There's a freedom. When your cup's over full, that space shrinks and shrinks and shrinks and shrinks. And so then you start, craving space from everything.
Oh, got it. Is this why? Is this why when I made the decision to change my relationship with alcohol and gambling, drugs, and all those things, I worked my ass off for 4 years, and then all my dreams became reality, and then I loved them, and then my cup was so full, and I did 12 months of just loving it, and then 13, 14, 15 months, I started to get really itchy. I started to have a couple of beverages in the afternoon. I was like, what's going on here? Is that right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Because you nailed it. There was a sense of the difficulty that I think a lot of people experience too, is there was a difficulty with part of my brain wanted to say, just be happy. You've created all of your dreams. Don't want more. And you nailed it when you said, like, I felt trapped. I felt like, I was caught between a rock and hard place of like, but I'm doing so well. Why are you unhappy? Why do you need a beer in the afternoon? Why do you need 3 or 4 beers, Tom? What's going on? That's not you. And something in my heart was like, I want more.
Yep. Yes. And the wanting more can just get really, really heavy. And we don't talk much in this culture, Tommy, about the treasures of emptiness. We hear that word and go, what empty? Like empty feels scary and alone and all that jazz, which it can, but it's just because we don't understand that space. When there's a feeling of emptiness, as I said, there's treasures in that space that, when facilitated properly, are invaluable to people's lives. And we just get so slammed all the time with like, you've got to have purpose and you've got to have fulfillment and you've got to have all this fullness, when the other side of emptiness, there are many, many treasures in emptiness also.
Yeah, I think it's probably pretty accurate to say that. You can let us know if it's a cultural thing maybe, or I don't know, something else, but the common denominating factor in my private one-on-one consulting I've seen is that 95%, if not more, of people associate emptiness to loneliness.
Yeah.
So don't get empty. Don't have an empty life. It'll mean lonely.
Exactly. Everyone listening to this, including you and I, Tommy, if you've ever had an internal thought or a desire of like, I just don't want to talk to anyone today. I just want to, go for a walk by myself today. I just want to turn my phone off today. I just want to not have these social plans. Why do I have to go so many places? Why is my life full of so many demands? These are not thoughts of dysfunction. These are not thoughts of not motivation or not discipline. These are thoughts of the desire for emptiness. These are natural thoughts of wanting space, not feeling constricted all the time by timelines and pressures and demands and expectations. And so part of us always wants, right? We're trying to find this balance of space, which is emptiness. A cup's only useful because it's empty. A house is only useful because it's empty.
And you got those internal desires you're talking about, but then socially speaking, you say, no, I don't want to go to a work function. And 3 colleagues call you and say, oh, what's up? Is everything okay?
Yeah, exactly.
To a family member, no, I'm not really coming to that thing we do every year. And it's met with like, oh, there you are again. Selfish as usual.
Yeah. And then you go, and then you go and you have to drink your ass off because you just pressurized.
Nice. I think, a lot of the time these conversations go down the path that we started with, but I really probably like that actually to finish on. I know we started and we kind of opened up the rabbit holes of fulfillment and satisfaction and fullness. But what about that, Nat? Maybe asking our audience, where do you desire emptiness?
Yeah, emptiness, right space, freedom, space. Yeah, space and emptiness go together.
Where do you desire emptiness? Where do you desire space? I like that word. Let's go with those 2 words. For anybody listening right now, and allow yourself to come up with, it'll be a thought or a feeling. And I say this to my private clients, sometimes it'll feel like you're making it up. So you'll say something, then you'll be like, oh, but I just made that up. That is the desire. If you feel like you made it up, that was it. Isn't that a funny one? People come up with something comes to fruition. That was
just my head. That was just my thoughts. Okay.
Yeah, that wasn't me. That was the little monkey with tambourines in my mind. Oh, I love it. What a great energy way to wrap up. Listeners, Nat, was there anything else that you wanted to share there?
No, that was only 2 things. It was like you can either be too full and overflowing, under full and empty and not enjoying it. And then both of those are drive to drink. And then lastly, it's just we desire space and emptiness as much as we want full.
Yeah, and that's probably the thing to walk away with, listeners. We all desire space and emptiness. We all desire space and emptiness. And the question for you today that we invite you to sit with for 24, 48 hours and just percolate is, where do I desire space and emptiness? And
very important. Great.
Yeah, it could be, Nat, you can let us know a couple of your examples, but could it be easy as back in 2015, actually, first time I attempted a 5-month detox, one of the things that helps me, I didn't even have this question, but the behavior came to fruition. I noticed that I desired space and emptiness in the morning. And it's when I first started consuming coffee. And I always felt that the minute I woke up, then I was in my thoughts, then I was in the shower, then I was off to work. And it was the first time where I was like, just sit down at the cafe for 20 minutes. Like, just do that. And then I created this behavior of sitting at the cafe every morning. But it was incredible for me to even in reflection now talking to you, like become aware of that. Like, wow, that was just, I desired 20 freaking minutes of space.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. Permission not to think, permission not to do anything. Like, it's really important to be able to go there and realize it's necessary.
You just like summed up the antidote of alcohol addiction, which is the inability to give ourselves permission to not think and to not feel. We don't know how to do that, so we use alcohol to give ourselves permission to not think and not feel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly right.
Oh, that's funny, Nat. That is hilarious. Mate, I've loved this podcast. I'm going to zip my lips before we get into another.
Yeah, before we go to
another segment.
Good timing, Tommy. Great timing.
For anybody listening, please note that this podcast series is recorded live. You can jump onto www.drinklessfeelfresh.com, and you'll find a registration link. That's just if you're listening to this on Spotify or you're watching this on YouTube, head over to drinklessfeelfresh.com. You can rock up live. We've had questions. We've had comments coming through in the chat panel, and then this podcast is stripped and uploaded. So if you do want to rock up live, you can get to know Nat and I. You can ask us some questions or say hello. We're always available a couple of minutes before we start the podcast. In saying that, here's to drinking less and feeling fresh.
Here's to drinking less and feeling fresh, team.
Big love. See you next week.
There you go.